I'd like to call this meeting to order. If you would follow along with the Pledge of Allegiance and a prayer with Marshall Howden. I pledge allegiance.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this evening, the ability to gather together to take up the issues of the city. We ask that you give us guidance and wisdom as we make tough decisions and move forward with a clear conscience. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Thank you, Marshall. Madam Clerk, go to roll call, please.
Lucas. Howden. Cooper.
Here.
Milton.
Yep.
Denham. Here. LeBlanc.
Here.
Schultz.
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
So, Your Honor, this item is the removal of the Tourism Community Enhancement District Board Member. Do I have a motion removing Cindy Mary from the TCED Board?
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any members of the board wishing to speak? Ruth?
I'm just going to read this because I'm kind of forgetful lately, so I won't leave anything out. My basic responsibility as an alderman is to make decisions based on fact, which focus on the betterment of Branson as a whole, whether it's for the business or residential sector. Transparency and protection of tax dollars weigh heavily on my decision-making process. And with that said, I usually ask a lot of questions prior to the meeting. Deciding on how to vote this item has led me back to the same questions I've had in the past that seem to remain unanswered. In fairness, I have and continue to ask these three main questions. What specifically has this member done single-handedly that has kept the city from moving forward on the economic road to success? Number two, as a treasurer, where has she gone out of her lane when asking basic questions while overseeing how taxpayer dollars are being spent? And number three, what are clear factual examples of her actions that would justify removal from a board based on policy and not personality? I feel she has a heart and passion to serve, and answers to these questions will help form my decision this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. Any other board? Artie?
Mr. Mayor, I guess I would kind of second what Ruth has said. My question is, why are we going through this again?
The reason is Alderman Howden made the request, and it was seconded by Ralph LeBlanc.
Then can I ask again, why are we going through this again?
Well, if I keep repeating what I say, are you going to keep repeating your question? Okay. Same answer. You need to push the button.
Can we not get some input from those two people that brought it forth?
Well, this is the time for the board to speak. Now I'm going to listen to those, and then we can speak again. Are there any questions or comments from anybody in the audience? If you would, come up and speak at the microphone. Please give your name, and there'll be a time limit for each speaker.
Point of order.
I'm sorry?
Point of order.
Yes.
The method of handling a regular agenda item is specified in our ordinances, and I would point out that there is no 5-minute limit per speaker. And so I'd ask we stick to our ordinances and allow the public to speak as we always do.
Well, I will ask for legal opinion, but I'm under the impression that as the chairman of this board, that I have privileges.
Nope, I'm sorry you don't, because we're bound by Robert's Rules of Order.
Why don't we ask the attorney?
Mayor, in the
You push, we can't hear you.
Can you not hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. So you can limit the time in which a speaker speaks if there are a certain number of speakers that have signed up to speak, or if they are repetitive, then you can limit the time. In their comments, you know, if they're redundant, saying the same thing over and over, then you can also limit the number of minutes that that person has to speak.
So is that what we put into place, that if there's more than 10 speakers, we limit it to 3 minutes, Solon? What's that?
And that is for the members that sign up for the, to speak in public comment.
Okay, so I'm assuming we did not have a sign up for this meeting?
Well, there should have been out front.
No, because we don't do that for special meetings. We only do that for regular meetings. For special meetings, it's specific to the items on the agenda, which we allow speakers to speak on when we
that-
get to that agenda item.
And that is true. We don't have a particular similar ordinance for special meetings.
So Glenn, what you're saying, Glenn, is this is not public comment, this is speaking on a specific agenda item?
That's correct. And ordinance 2-71 makes it very clear that the public should be allowed to speak, and the only restriction would be if they become redundant, then either an alderman or the mayor may ask them to curtail their comments.
Okay, Cindy, would you like a chair? Because apparently you have all the time you want.
Well, thank you. My name is Cindy Mary, and first off, I'd like to thank you, Mayor Milton. When you first broke the tie that put me on the TCD board, I appreciated that greatly. I've appreciated every one of your input and support and votes through the years. And I kind of wanted to visit a little bit about the goals that we have achieved, which began a long time ago. And we got Ozark Mountain Christmas back into our marketing. We got dates. We got it on in the ads. Brilliant. Faith, family, flag, and fun, our core values. We got that back in. Got it to be a part of the TCD's recognition of that. We created a detailed TCED budget of how our money was being spent. And I mean line by line by line. And we got the recording of the meetings done. I mean, not very well yet, but we're on the path to get it done. We eliminated wasteful spending, the amount of money that was being spent continuously of taxpayer dollars on things that really weren't being effectively and efficiently cut down as they should be. We eliminated double commissions. So we pay the Explore Branson Tourism $2.9 million to do a job. And then they went out and hired agencies and other people to do those same jobs and paid them commissions out of our marketing dollars. So that's a double commission that we're paying to get a job done. We got a chairman for the TCD Board of Directors to be from Taney County or Branson, which was a goal. We started working closer with Indian Point because, you know, Indian Point feeds thousands and thousands and thousands of customers into Branson. And having a good relationship with the Indian Point people is really important because we collect a lot of dollars from them in the TCD retail. And so we've got a much better relationship going on there. We updated the allowable, reusable policies, reimbursable policies, so that the money, the taxpayer money collected inside the district was focused on the businesses inside the district. We hired an executive director because managing a $12 million budget, you can't just take volunteers once a month and have them do oversight. It's just impossible. So we got an executive director to help us do oversight and to help us grow the revenues into the district. However, there's other goals we achieved, but there's some we still haven't achieved. And the first goal is the one we started with originally, was wanting a blue ribbon task force to review the goals of the city with the marketing tax dollars. And then from that goal, we created Bill 5599, which was to bring in an outside marketing expert to review what was being done with our marketing dollars. That still hasn't happened. The detailed budget for the city of Branson does not have a detailed budget. You guys approve a high number line item, and I think a detailed budget is very important. You do not have an allowable, reimbursable policy, so whoever's approving the invoices has to intimately know what the will of the aldermen are with the tax dollars. The complete transparency on how tourism taxes are exactly being spent. If you had a detailed budget, you would know. And I would imagine that there's a lot of things in the budget that are okay, but you probably aren't aware exactly how the money is being spent and what it's for, which leads you to accountability. So things like the website. We wanted to get a website that was actually functioning at the highest and best use for stakeholders inside the district and for the potential customers that might be using it. Oh, okay. And on that website, Mayor, one of your big goals was to get advertising off that was taking people away from our stakeholders. Haven't accomplished that, and you've been asking that since you became mayor. The stakeholder involvement. Now, in lots of communities, people don't want stakeholders involved because it slows things down, makes it difficult. But Branson, we have brilliant people in this community that know lots and lots of things about marketing. And when I wanted us to get back to having internet committee, vacation guide committees, those kinds of things, so stakeholders could give input, nobody wanted that to happen. I was told in our alderman meeting that meetings weren't good, like that. The contractor announced at the TCD board meeting that they didn't want to have meetings, and I think the contractor would benefit greatly from the wisdom of the people in this community. Now, this next thing, there's other goals we haven't achieved, but I wanted to touch on something that was said to me, and this is paraphrased, and it goes something like this, that things are different now because we have new leadership with our contractor, the Branson Lakes Area Chamber of Commerce and CVB and Explore Branson Tourism. And, but that's not totally accurate. You cannot blame employees for the culture of a private membership-driven organization. In essence, the same people and businesses that have been in charge of the Branson Lakes Area Chamber of Commerce and CVB and Explore Branson Tourism since at least 2014 are the same people. So you may have removed some employees, but oversight is being done by the same people. And those people were perfectly fine with the resistance by the employees to all the changes that we got done. And at the minimal, that toleration of those things is what makes it so difficult to make effective change happen. And without the backing of the aldermen, it's very difficult, and the mayor, to make those things happen for the betterment of the entire community. And with that being said, so I'm submitting to you that to achieve any of these unfinished goals that I've outlined, the aldermen, at the very least, need someone full-time doing oversight over the marketing to expect your city administrator to be able to handle the huge city projects that she's doing, the enormous amount of staff, and the endless political stuff, and then to be fully involved in everything going on to the last detail of your marketing, I think is unreasonable. And it's not the best use of her time, and very least you need to hire somebody. Well, with that all being said, yeah, I'd like to continue being on the TCD board, but at the end of the day, I serve at your will. And if you want to replace me and put somebody else in, I would just hope that you will choose someone that will put principles over feelings before in that position. And thank you very much, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Cindy. Anybody else would like to speak? Hold on, Michael. You can follow Sue.
Do I need to give name, rank, and serial number?
Just name, please.
My name is Sue Braun. Here's what I learned from several of my meetings with the various aldermen. Transparency was encouraged. Now meetings are recorded, and the TCD and the Financial Oversight Committee are live streamed. Cindy fully supported this. Cindy also chairs the Financial Oversight Committee for the TCED and is more efficient than ever. She is always striving for accountability regarding the use of stakeholder funds along with the rest of her committee. Cindy was one of the first champions to keep asking for a detailed budget from the CVB. It took efforts from the executive director of the TCD and the board, including Cindy Mary, but a transparent budget is what the CVB works from today. Very recently, Cindy presented a way to finance the Connect South Faith by using TCED opportunity funds and partnering with the city to finance the initial $200,000 investment. The opportunity has since been withdrawn by the CVB, but Cindy did her best to show the CVB how to finance something that they wanted to do. It has been said that it's not what Cindy says, but how she says it that causes a problem. Cindy was the first to bring up the point that the Explore Branson website was broken. Think about it. Every penny of the TCD investment was being pushed to a website that was broken. How does that help the stakeholders and grow our online business? Would we be better off if Cindy had said nothing and the district went on and on with a broken website? It hasn't been that long ago that our newly hired city manager was under scrutiny for not being qualified for her job. She had the courage to move forward and conducted the city of Branson's business as she was hired to do while undergoing immense pressure and scrutiny. Cindy has been under unrelenting pressure for years for how she says things in meetings. It's not that what she says is untrue or wrong. It just can rub people the wrong way. Cindy has the courage to stay with the situation while no one else notices or cares. Nevertheless, she was encouraged by the aldermen to keep up her questioning and to continue doing what was right for the stakeholders in the TCED district. We have been told in our monthly meetings by the mayor and the aldermen not to rubber stamp programs that were presented by the CVB. We need to continue and ask questions. Cindy has the courage to keep on doing this even after criticism from the vendor and pressure from City Hall because it is the right thing to do for the stakeholders. If asking questions are the problem, then every member of the Marketing Oversight Committee, the Financial Oversight Committee, and the Branson Lakes Area TCED board members should be dismissed. and it would be a very sad day for tourism in Branson. One alderman, I am just shaking so bad, I'm sorry.
Sue, just take a breath.
Okay. One alderman even stated that if someone keeps telling you over and over again that they are a professional, then it makes you wonder. Cindy has decades of experience in marketing and lends this expertise to the community at no charge. It's like having a high-priced consultant at your fingertips and on the payroll without having to pay for it. If the city has time to build a dossier of the perceived bad things that Cindy has done and someone got their feathers ruffled, then they should pay attention and spend equal time building the things that she's done that are good for the community. At a TCED board meeting hosted by our partner on Indian Point, the CEO of the Branson Chamber, CVB, made a passionate speech about how Cindy has been right about many things and publicly apologized for doubting the intent of the probes that Cindy had made. Some Branson City aldermen were at that meeting and heard it firsthand. If the CEO publicly supported Cindy Mary and her intent, then why would the alderman want to remove her? What we need for members here is, what we need to remember here is that the CVB is a vendor. They are offered help, guidance, and assistance by area stakeholders on a regular basis. If what is presented at a meeting of a major publication misses the mark, then the Marketing Oversight Committee and the TCED are bound to do what is right for the stakeholders in the district and speak up. Some examples are, we had 3 major stakeholders celebrating 65 years in the district with no mention this year. We had another stakeholder that had the largest running drive-through light show in the district, as well as a walk-through light show, omitted from the vacation guide. We had several stakeholders that showed their location on a body of water in the vacation guide, but the name of the lake that they were upon was omitted from the vacation guide. No mention of our destination in the vacation guide was even mentioned about us being open year-round. We have indoor shows, attractions, and museums to suit just about anyone. In fact, Branson is a great rainy day destination. We miss the PR opportunities and national press we have enjoyed in the past and the boost in audience that happens after these bumps. If it was your business that was slighted and you would either speak up or you would just shrug your shoulders and move on, missing a marketing opportunity to help your business. These are the types of details that Cindy notices. She asks questions and champions these details on behalf of these stakeholders. In closing, I really hope the Board of Aldermen looks at this for what it is. It is a vendor criticizing their boss because the boss wants excellent results for their investment. This causes a diversion of resources that can and should be focusing solely on results. This spring has been less than stellar. We are in the height of the season. We are at the height of the season and we're in a deficit right now. We are told, well, the tax receipts are up, so there isn't a problem. Well, how many of you are paying the same for goods and services as you were 2 or 3 years ago? None of you are paying the same. We are not keeping up with inflation. Cindy Mary recognizes this and keeps pushing for excellence. We need to ensure we have excellent marketing here and now. Yes, the 250th is next year, and we are aligned for it to be a banner year. But businesses need results now. They still have payroll, taxes, utilities, insurance, maintenance, and mortgages that they need to pay now, not in 2026. Do we need to have shows and businesses close because of a lack of attendance before we recognize how important our marketing is to our livelihoods? These businesses heavily market themselves through many different platforms, so it is not that they are not doing their part. The CVB is charged with getting visitors here, and the individual stakeholders are responsible to get them into our businesses when they are here. Cindy Mary is a huge champion for getting businesses here. Please support your stakeholders. I humbly ask the aldermen to keep Cindy Mary on and her expertise as a Branson representative on the TCED board.
Thank you, Sue. Michael?
My name is Michael London. A couple of you I know, a couple I have never met before until tonight.
If you were talking to the mic, there's people listening, please.
Thank you. I came here 30 years ago, and why I came here was because the Chamber of Commerce was unable to provide the tour operator industry the information that they needed to plan motor coach tours to this town. I know that because my mom and sister were tour operators in St. Louis, sending groups of people all over the world. Branson was their original destination. They wanted me to come take care of some part of the business when there was a pregnancy outage, and I arrived, and my first job was to set up a Branson tour. And they showed me the desk, and they gave me the information, most of which was old, so I called the Chamber of Commerce to get information. And guess what happened? Nothing. I didn't get any information. I called every 2 or 3 days, and when I finally got through a couple of weeks later, when somebody responded, what I got was inadequate information for what my needs were. So I recognized the opportunity to provide that information to the tour industry and created a publication. When I came to town, Cindy Mary was the second person that I met, and she was invaluable in the help to be able to introduce me to the people that were necessary to create this publication, which went on to be recognized as the Bible for planning information for Branson. It also served as I was taking a master's degree in program at the time, and it was the fulfillment of that program, which was all based on how to market to consumers in a way that they enjoyed. So it was about customer satisfaction was the focus of the marketing. Cindy and I have talked about the marketing of Branson easily over 1,000 hours, probably 2 over the last 30 years. And I know for 100% sure that anything that she says comes from a position of what's the most benefit for the whole town of Branson. But Mayor, what I want to talk about is the involvement that you and I have had with Cindy, because you may be the tiebreaker here. It was your courage and leadership with Cindy, and to a lesser degree myself, that caused tremendous changes here in the town. In 2014 or 15, I noticed, because I look at the website often, that the Chamber of Commerce's new marketing director had completely dropped Ozark Mountain Christmas. The term was gone, and any promotion of it was gone. And it was replaced, when you pushed ads for Ozark Mountain Christmas in Branson, it was replaced with links to summertime fun. And I recognized this was a tragedy because our town relies on that time period. And I called Cindy, what do you do? And we talked about, Dan Lennon had been the director of marketing at that organization, and he had gone on to become the director of tourism for the state of Missouri. So he knew what he was doing. And he suggested I call Jerry Henry, who at the time and for decades was hired by the Chamber of Commerce to give them information and advice and research. And I told him, as I'd told Dan and Cindy, that I believed that Branson's brand had been kidnapped. without any study, research, or reason. And Jerry couldn't believe what I was saying until I sat down and said, Jerry, get on your website. While I was driving to St. Louis, I directed him to each of the things that I knew to exist that were horrible. And at the end of the conversation, he said to me, this scares the tar out of me. Now, as a citizen of the town, I believe that me knowing that is important information. So I came to the Board of Aldermen. And at that time, there was some contingency money available for marketing. I suggested that some of that money be used quickly because Ozark Mountain Christmas is coming and there's no ads out for it. And we were gaslit and pushed off and told we didn't know what we were talking about, which was absolutely not true. And Christmas came and went without any marketing. I thought for absolutely sure that would not happen next year. That was just, they made a mistake and they missed it. The next year, exactly the same thing happened. The fall 2016 community newsletter, they put out, the chamber puts out a quarterly thing of marketing Branson. The one that comes out in the fall, that's called Fall, with Ozark Mountain Christmas starting November 1st, which is in the fall, and it had nothing about Ozark Mountain Christmas in it, nothing. Despite the fact that in 2013, there was a huge study done on Branson, and it was determined that images of Christmas shows were the highest possible type image to get people to get off their couch and come to town. And there were none. So Cindy and I decided that it was time to do something about that. And we gathered up business people, friends of ours, and went and told the story that I'm telling you right now and showed them on the website. And I went to Larry Milton, who was at that time not involved in politics. He was not involved because the Chamber of Commerce had denied his request to do what I still think is probably the most brilliant marketing idea that has ever existed in the 30 years of my being here. He can tell you about it later. But the clique inside the chamber told him, no, we can't do what you want to do. And so he withdrew from politics, but when he heard that I was going to spend my winter here, I go away every winter to someplace warm. When he heard that I was going to stay here for the winter, he was so impressed that I was dedicated that much to the cause of what we eventually called a blue ribbon task force, to have the community make a decision that they were going to look at what was going on, what in the world, who's making these decisions and why are they being made? And we requested that over, I don't know, a month or 2 months, and finally they had come in every week to talk, and finally was put on the agenda for a work study. And that study, whatever you call it, the other style of meeting, and the public's not allowed to talk or give input, and the meeting starts, and the alderman whose business had the most to lose if there was a task force done, because they were embedded with the chamber/CVB so heavily that every person who went to the website was directed to their site instead of what it is that they were looking for. And so I was asked to present information that would help people make a decision on what to do. And I was told to provide it to the city manager, and I did. And I went to that meeting, and that first person, the alderman who had the most to lose if this request was put through, said that I was a liar because in this one point of fact, I wasn't telling the truth. Now, I didn't get a chance to explain that actually he misunderstood what I'd said, but therefore I should not be listened to about anything. Because if somebody's going to lie about one thing, and they're going to lie about everything. And the meeting ended up with none of the research that I had done for the last 3 months being aired. Cindy Mary was the person who helped me get all of that research together and to provide to the. So in our loss, we were pretty, whatever, it was devastating. Larry and I were on the porch of his business, and I said to him, the only way that we will ever be able to get out of the problem of the Chamber of Commerce's, how they handle the use of funds, is if we become you. If we run and we become the board. Well, I travel 6 months a year, and I'm not giving that much. I said, so Larry, you need to go, and you need to find other people to do that, and he did. And he came and he fought other aldermen who didn't want it to happen to create a bill that would allow the city to call in an outside expert in both tourism and organizational design and management, and for them to lead a group of Branson citizens to determine whether the best thing was being done for them or not. It passed. We were told there was a budget of somewhere around $50,000 to $75,000. Come back with a proposal of how you plan to do it. We did all the research to find a suitable group of people. We provided 3 potential candidates, all 3 of which would have done a brilliant job. Larry went back to the city manager and said, hey, we're ready to go. And the city manager said, oops, that money I told you was available to do this, it's gone. Well, in fact, it never existed. He got bamboozled, and so did I. Because 2 days later, on the agenda for the next city meeting was an agenda item that said that they wanted the Bill 5599 to be fulfilled by the Chamber of Commerce. I was asking the Fox to watch the whatever the expression is, right? I mean, it was crazy. How can an independent study be done by the people who are doing the stuff that the other side thinks is crazy?
Yep.
So there we go. We're ready to go. They put it on the agenda as the chamber running, and nobody will second the motion to talk about it. Nobody, I found out about it about a day before it was actually going to happen. And it died. It never came to fruition. So we never had the independent look at the whole situation that this man's leadership created. But I want to tell you, it was Cindy Mary that gave me the courage to do the things necessary to push through and figure out what committee and who should we say and why should we ask it. And the reason why it was fought is because the chamber wants to use the money however they want to use it, and they don't want to be asked about it. It took almost a year to get them to give basic information for the detailed budget for the TCED, and you don't even get one. It's a tragedy. Now, there's a bunch of other examples, but the main point here is that it is not Cindy Mary style, the way she, no. It is the decision, and in my opinion, the directed goal of the Chamber of Commerce to get rid of her by creating scuttlebutt, innuendo, and character assassination. And they put it in your ear, and 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 your ear. With little, she doesn't like to, and then even Sue might repeat the phrase that somebody's spreading. Why are they spreading it? Because they don't want anybody to look. Well, if you don't want anybody to look, you're irresponsible. Because there's nobody else in this town who can do what it is that she does. Nobody. Larry, you wanted Bill 5599. I still believe that should be your goal, to be able to have this is much bigger than a Cindy Mary be on the tax board or not. This is about the proper functioning of this organization to watch out for the taxpayers' dollars. I'm going to tell you one last thing. I'm a citizen of the town for 30 years, and when I moved in, the city was going to put in a storm drain as soon as the 2 houses on the end of the street were built. That storm drain has not been built yet because it's always on the budget for 2 years down the road, and 2 years down the road, we had to use the money over there. And I told Larry about this when he took office. He directed me to the then city administrator. I got the promise and the understanding, and it's so lucky they've got money that they're going to come back and surface the streets in my neighborhood in 2023, which was maybe 2 years or whatever from then. I waited, but they can't resurface the streets in 2023 because it wouldn't make sense. Why? Because they're going to put the storm drains in 2026. So we don't get the resurfacing. The road's still the crappy road. The neighborhood gets flooded out. And the reason is the city doesn't have the budget. Why doesn't the city have the budget? Because they have a tax that collects tourism tax, which only 25% of goes to the tourism. 75% goes to the fixing the roads and infrastructure. But they never have enough to do what it is that the citizens need. And why not? Because there's not enough tourism tax. And it's because the people who are in charge of the money and how to spend it want to spend it however it is that they want. And they don't want Cindy Mary in the meeting saying, oh, well, that money where's that coming out of? Where's that in the budget? What does that mean that we're not spending? And why are we doing it this way instead of that? And that might just be not even the best example, the one that God threw in my head at that section. But I guarantee you there's a million examples of the way that money is spent terribly and decisions are made terribly, and it's because the website is set up to take all of the tax money, they spend it into the world in TV ads and radio ads and magazine publications, all referring every customer to go to the website. So guess what all the big players in this town want? They want to stick their face in front of all those $14 million worth of money that's driven these people to go look at the website and make sure that even if they're going to go want to see a Branson show, right? They got to see this and that and the other thing first. And it's all meant and intended to drive all of the businesses to the Chamber of Commerce's Board of Directors businesses. I think, I'm saying I think because I want to relieve myself of any potential liabilities by saying such a thing. But I've made videos of you know what about screen print is on a computer? Oh, you can do screen videos. So I can get on the website and go there and take a tour. What happens? And oh, let's see, we just spent $60,000 on a study independently done, when I say we, the community, and it said that the users of the website, the general public, would prefer to not have ads pop in at them and would prefer to actually go directly to the information that they were looking for. It can't be done. It's never been able to be done. And even after we did the study and we agreed to do it, the website was redesigned for about 2 weeks. It stayed there with nothing else in the way. And then all of a sudden there's this ad and there's that ad and then there's this and then there's that distraction and you can't find what you want. It's gone because you go through a gauntlet of ads and there are multiple types of ways to disrupt people on their way. That continues to this day. And the only person that I'm aware of who has the time on a regular basis to try and negotiate the various codes and restrictions and processes is Cindy Mary. And that's why I would ask for you, Larry, to show the leadership that you showed in trying to get Bill 5599 fulfilled and let you know that's your greatest warrior right here. There is nobody in the town like that. all of the innuendo and stuff against her is because the people who've gotten control of the money want to use it how they want to use it. It's just not good for us. We're not getting enough visitors compared to the rate of inflation, and they won't fix my street because they think that there's not enough money, and there never will be if things continue like they are. And us citizens, we want our streets fixed, and we can't because of the inadequate, inept use of the community's money. And you cannot believe that, oh, we've got a new person, they're really good. Well, they're really good, but they don't want to listen to anybody about how things are concerning on the website. I told Larry about the problems on the website in December. I asked to volunteer for helping the community in that area. There's nobody here who knows more about the ins and outs of that website. And I volunteered my services. I'm told there's gonna be a subcommittee on making that website, and I'm just waiting, and then the subcommittee gets set aside. It ain't gonna happen. Why isn't it gonna happen? Guess why it's not gonna happen? They don't want people like me saying, oops, sorry, we've decided already 4 times that it's better for the consumer to find what information they're looking for than it is to try and siphon off those particular people to a few major businesses. So thank you very much for your time. And
Thank you, Michael. Anybody else in the audience?
I'm Tracy Gideon. I know a lot of you, some of you I don't know. I was born and raised here. Both sides of my family are Taney County residents, and I've been in show business here in Branson, I hate to say how long time, since 1986. And I'm currently at Shepherd of the Hills. I've been there for almost 8 years, which is hard to believe. Jeff Johnson, who's the co-owner and general manager, did want me to say a few words. He had a prior commitment, so I'd like to read that if I could real quickly. With regards to Cindy Mary, I have been on several subcommittees at the chamber and have known Cindy for a handful of years. And while I understand that sometimes people don't want to hear certain things, Cindy has never had anything but the best of intentions for everything as it relates to Branson and our community. It would be a mistake, in my opinion, to disregard and not place value in the opinion of someone who has been in the marketing industry in Branson for many years and knows the market better than a lot of people making decisions with regards to her ability to be on the TCED going forward. And I'm not up here to complain, we're not here to complain, but I do want to say I've known Cindy for years, ever since she was with Jim Stafford. And like I said, I managed Glenn Campbell's theater. I was at the Grand Palace for 12 years. We've been lockstep with so many different events through the years, and she's been through the trenches and comes up with such great ideas that sometimes we bring it up and people go, you guys are crazy, that's never going to work. And then a few months later, guess what? We're all doing it. And I've been through a lot in Branson, and I feel like the best thing is we all have to work together to be successful. I want Clay to be successful. I want everyone to be successful. And that's what built this town, is we all worked together and did so many great things together. And I just appreciate Cindy and all the time that she's volunteered through the years. It's just something that you don't want to take for granted. And my daughter's here, and one thing I always try to teach her is honesty. And sometimes honesty is telling people what they don't want to hear, but you're doing it because you love them and you want the best for them. And that's what I've always felt about Cindy is, she may say something, you go, wow, okay. But then when you go back and say, thank God she said it. So that's all I have to say. I appreciate you guys very much, and thank you for letting me speak for a few minutes.
Thank you, Tracy. Anybody else?
This might not go too well. I don't speak too well. These days, even my writing's slipping a little bit, but I can't sit back there and listen to all this stuff that's going on. Number one, this is not about the CVB. I've had a little experience with the CVB. I've lived in this town for 38 years. I've been involved with the internet and tourism and writing about Branson for many years. I fought the first TCED tax along with the cartoonist John Logan, and it was defeated. Why? Because it was the, quote, chamber tax. There was no government involved. Well, that isn't the case now. I've sat here and I've listened to history. I was waiting for Noah to come out of here. But folks, we're here, we're now, and we're in the technology of now. Even the internet now is changing. I've seen a lot of things happen with the chamber. Some of you know I've written some not kind things about the chamber in the past. Some people think I even wrote something in recent weeks that was negative about the chamber. I might add in that article, the chamber wasn't even mentioned in that article. Why? Because that wasn't the issue. For what it's worth, I will bet my life and reputation on the current leadership we have at the chamber, Pam Yancey and Heather. I think we're headed in the right direction. We need that type of thought process. We need to deal with facts and figures. It's not just a website. If you're going to just rely on the website and you're going to ignore artificial intelligence and all that stuff, you're crazy, folks. I got news for you. And yes, I am concerned about our city manager not having time to get in tourism. I like and respect our city manager. From an agape sense view, I love our city manager. And I believe with my whole heart and soul, if she thought there was a problem marketing tourism with Branson, she'd find a way to get in there and get it settled. If she's not, the reason she's not is because she believes there's a team there that is capable of handling it and is handling it well. And that's good enough for me. As far as the website goes, and you saw me walk up and talk to Cindy. I asked if I could discuss a phone call I got from her. A couple weeks ago, I got a phone call, and she gave me her permission. A couple weeks ago, I got a phone call from Cindy. I was at home minding my own business, and I was happy to get the call because I was watching a Hallmark movie, and it got me away from the Hallmark movie for a while. But boy, things were good. And she wanted to point out an entry that was on the front page of the website. And what this entry was the titles. Once I saw the title, I went berserk. I didn't handle it well. The voice of explorebranson.com. And it was some group that was outside of town. And so I wrote a column on it. Now, when I write a column, I don't go to anybody else. It's just my opinion. I figure people can evaluate it, write it off, do whatever they want to do with it. That's fine. If it was a newspaper article, it would have been a little different. I would have gone and had who, what, why, when, and where. And interestingly, during that phone call, there was no mention that the chamber had run that thing by the TCED. You also noticed me talking to Kurt Elmquist just a few minutes ago. I asked Kurt, had that thing been run through the TCD before the chamber went and put it up? Yes, it had. Now, I'm a little disappointed that I wasn't told that. Would I have still written the article? Yes, I would have still written the article because the things I was interested in are pertinent. They weren't CVB issues, they were marketing issues. I serve on, as you're a member on the TIF Commission, and I serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission. I can tell you, I might think I'm the greatest thing since chocolate covered donuts. I don't, I know my place. But if two or more of you weren't satisfied with my service, we wouldn't have to have a meeting like this. I just would have quietly withdrawn because of my affection for the city and you. I heard about a lot of things that have been done, but I've sat in these meetings and I know who had a lot to do with it. You did. You and the board members before you had an awful lot to, without you pushing it. There's no one person that pushed it. It was a community effort that pushed it. And I think we're poised for big things. And acknowledging all that Cindy's done for the community and will probably continue to do, that's fine. But we're moving in a different direction. We don't need anything that could possibly distract us. And if I was the problem, I wouldn't be. And it's as simple as that. I believe you have probably the best marketing team we have ever had in place. If you have ever sat down and talked to Pam or Heather, now one thing, when you talk to Heather, there's no doubt where she stands. You talk to Pam Yancey, you cannot doubt her heart. And folks, that's the heart. That's what I want leading Branson. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Anybody else?
Good evening, Board. Alex Williams. My goal tonight is to do one thing, and that's to give you information as a 32-year-old Branson resident, 4 kids, a business owner in Branson, and the most junior member of the TCED. Since January, I've been doing the job that I've been asked to do. Come in, speak to what I know, listen to people that are smarter than me. Cindy Mary's been one of those people. She's been doing this for a very long time. I'm not here to convince you one way or the other about her particularly, but one thing I'm not hearing that bothers me when we're in a community as a Branson resident is what is best for the community at large. We like to think that we represent the community at large by invoking the community's name, saying that we represent the community, but then what does that mean? I've had folks, elected officials, appointed officials, business owners say they represent the majority of the community, but if somebody like me, not having 30 years of experience, goes into the community and talks to the live music industry, and you hear another side of the story, who's to say that that industry owner is wrong? So something has happened in the process. I'm not speaking to one way or the other, but what I hope I never get to as a junior public servant that wants to keep serving in this community is assume that I'm the most important person in the room. Whether I think I'm the expert, whether I know I'm the expert, I know that I'm but one person of 7 people on a board. Branson's one community inside of the tourism district, and if we play the role that we're the most important person in the sandbox, nobody's gonna wanna play with us. Not to liken it down to something childish, but I just leave that with you to say, I trust that all of you as the elected officials have done the due diligence when you put all of us there, myself, Cindy, Sue, and all for the city of Branson. I trust that when you were apprised of an issue, that you did the research accordingly, that you diversified who you talk to, that you're not caught into an echo chamber, and that you're actually voting the conscience of this community. There's a lot of political stuff that's going on. That's why I'm not going to comment on that, because I don't find that it would be appropriate. I can say that there's not been hospitality on both sides of the issue. So it's unfortunate that we're having to do this in this forum, but for that, just know, for me, I trust that we're going to look at the greater good of the community and that we're not going to play one side of the fence only, that you're gonna look at it as impartially as you can. Other than that, I don't have anything else to say. I appreciate it. I'm sorry that you're going through that. But I trust that you're gonna exercise good discernment and make the right choice for the city of Branson and the tourism district, because we represent, obviously, Branson as appointees, but literally people are looking to us and saying, do we want to be partners with the city of Branson in that community? They are gonna see all of this, and this is gonna reflect back on this community. The actions of a few, whenever I know darn good and well that the majority of the community does not feel that way. And honestly, I find it, again, just a little bit upsetting, having been here for 20 years or so, that we're villainizing a section of our community, whether you agree with them politically or not, saying that, this group is inherently evil because you're basically, it's a slap in the face. You could say that they slapped you in the face first and you're responding by smacking them in the face. That's what it seems like. And so at the end of the day, I trust that we're going to hold ourselves to a higher standard. We're going to work together. We just went through a tourism tour with a representative from Southwest Missouri, with Representative Burleson. If we want to have synergy, which I believe the city does, that's why you guys voted to extend our reach beyond the city limits borders, then it would only make sense that we want to work together and be interoperable. I know that Mrs. Mary and Mr. London talked about being able to be interoperable with Indian Point, for example, but we can't be interoperable and then have a separate set of rules that these are the criteria that we expect for somebody to represent the city of Branson, and invoke that we must retain control of something whenever we are a collective whole. Those things don't add up. And I know the individuals I've talked to about this at depth know exactly what I'm talking about, and I trust that they're going to vote their conscience knowing that. So that's all I'm going to share. Again, I'm blessed and humbled to get to sit here as the most junior member of the district, as a junior business owner, and thanks for stepping up to the plate and making this tough decision, whichever way the chips may fall.
Thank you, Alex. Anybody else? Hearing none, any comments from the board? Marty?
Why are we doing this?
We're doing this because it's the proper procedure of the city. When one alderman wants to have a issue brought up and another alderman seconds it, then it's the board's responsibility to hear them out.
I respect that. I guess my concern, and I guess a little bit of frustration, is that when I first became a member of the Board of Aldermen, I was contacted by a member and asked to meet him for lunch or coffee, whatever it was. And we talked about the upcoming elections for members of the TCED. And at that time, he strongly encouraged me to please support Cindy and Sue for the board. And as I told you when we met, that's what I did. And I still have no problem with the decision that I made to support Cindy and Sue. And I'm just confused as to why this was brought up.
Any other alderman? Marshall? 10 seconds. Sure.
You know, Artie, and I'll address you because you addressed me. You know, in all the speeches that we heard tonight, the one person that was left out of that story was me. I sort of jokingly, but not really jokingly, have also said that I've probably spent over 1,000 hours talking with Cindy in the last decade. Literally, I'm not kidding. And I poured my heart out to you when you got on the board. And I don't regret my vote for Cindy or Sue either. Michael talked about when Larry passed Bill 5599, and that was not put forward because we had a city administrator at the time that subverted it, flat out. Folks, personnel is policy. The people that are in the seats make all the difference in the world. The people that are not only on this board make all the difference in the world, but who's sitting in the city administrator's seat and who our TCED reps are. I don't regret my vote, but I would also say, Artie, that I also didn't call you this time and ask you to vote against Cindy Mary. 2 or so months ago, we changed the ordinance essentially to make these at-will appointments. They serve at the will of the board. In speaking with community members and taking myself out of it, and in not being a stagnant leader, but listening to community members as time went on, it came time to do what I did. An absolutely gut-wrenching decision, and it's pretty gut-wrenching to sit up here now, Artie. I'll tell you that right now. But I will be casting my vote to remove Cindy. I'm unbelievably thankful for her 3.5 years of service on the TCED, and I'm unbelievably thankful to what Michael has done. Michael, I would say, is pretty much single-handedly responsible for why we have Ozark Mountain Christmas. I mean, he came here and gave these speeches, and then a former alderman who's not on the board anymore, who we didn't think was going to vote with us, said, you know, I care about Ozark Mountain Christmas, and then, by golly, it happened. Not only have I spent thousands of hours on the phone with Cindy, Michael and I spent dozens of hours putting up exhibits to honor and remember the history of our live music shows. I respect immensely Cindy. I love Cindy. But as for me and my vote and the people that I represent tonight, it's come to the time that I'm going to vote to remove.
Any other comments from the board? Glenn?
Yeah, on the macro level, I'd like to say what I said to many when we were essentially changing the ordinance, that it brings this issue before us tonight, and that I think, unfortunately, this is going to have a tremendously chilling effect. We have probably 25, 50, maybe more appointees of this board. Everyone is unpaid, everyone's a volunteer. Most of them, in one form or another, are in the public light in what we ask them to do, to make decisions on behalf of the city, to manage things on behalf of the city, to make recommendations for the city. And here we sit with a volunteer that's been extremely active, in my opinion, extremely effective on the board. And we have all of our other volunteers and all of our future potential volunteers watching an episode like this. And I got to say, we've got to be knocking down the number of volunteers that our city will receive through this kind of action. So I think it's very unfortunate. On a more direct to the issue topic, I spent a couple of phone calls with the chairman of the TCED. He called me, I called him, we exchanged a few thoughts. Number one thing I came away from in talking with Chris Meyer is he doesn't understand why the board is doing this. When he heard that this was on the agenda item, he couldn't believe it. He expressed to me that Cindy was a valuable resource to the board, that her work on the Financial Oversight Committee is critical to the functioning of the board, and he sees any removal attempt to be negative towards the activities of the TCED. So when I have the chairman saying that, and I have a couple other representatives of the board saying that, I have to really start to question the activities that brings us here tonight. The other thing I'll say is I attend the TCED board meetings. So nothing has really escaped my vision. I've been there to sit and listen to them all, to watch all the individual comments, to see the interaction between the CVB and the TCED. I think I've seen it all with the exception of executive sessions. I don't see why we're sitting here this evening. I see a dedicated public servant who obviously not everybody is going to agree with, just like us as aldermen. Not every person in the city agrees with what we do or what we say, but that's our job. Stick to our principles, stick to know what we know is right, and fight for it. And all I can say is that's all I've seen Cindy Mary do for the entire time that I've known her and that I've attended all the TCED board meetings. I have one other comment to make tonight, and this is a request, and obviously it's a personal request. And this is for the integrity of this proceeding, for the integrity of the board of aldermen, for the propriety of what we do. And this is the request, that any Board of Aldermen member that is contemplating applying for this position, should it be vacated, should abstain from voting on this matter to avoid a conflict of interest. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Ruth?
Thank you. I just want to agree with what Gary Groman said about Pam and Heather. I think they have amazing hearts, and I think that they are tremendous in helping to point this city in a fantastic direction. But I also feel that Cindy Mary has a heart like that as well, which makes this really difficult. This is difficult for, I believe, any of us sitting up here right now. But I still, round two, haven't had answers to my questions, which would help me to make a decision. And since no one's willing to answer my questions, I don't have enough information to vote yes on this, because those are important, and that's important for me to know before I can make that kind of a decision to have someone removed from a board. Thank you.
Okay, with that, is the board ready to vote?
Can I hit?
Oh, sure.
Just real quick. Couple of things. Michael London, probably 99% of what you said about the chamber in the past, I'd agree with. But this is a new day. And like Marshall said, personnel is important, and there's new leadership. For years, I paid my dues just because I thought, well, I better, or I'll get blackballed. I didn't pay my dues because I thought they were doing good stuff for me. But now I believe in what they're doing and the leadership that the chamber's doing. Sue, my business is up 13% year to date. We're not in trouble. I'm not in, contrary to what I hear you say, that Clay Cooper is not in trouble. Our numbers are great. And in reference to, you used Kathy in that about the issues when Kathy was being hired was never about Kathy being qualified or not, because I think she's the most qualified city administrator this city's ever had, to my knowledge. And I'm also not worried about the oversight with Kathy, because I trust that she's going to make the right decisions. She doesn't micromanage. She lets the chamber move in a direction, and if it gets to a point where she needs to jump in, she jumps in. And because of Kathy's leadership, I don't worry about money being spent wastefully or this and that, because I know that Kathy's got it. And Cindy, I don't disagree with the band being on the website with what you're saying. I don't know why they're on there. There's no use for them. It doesn't really do us any good to say this is the voice. So I don't disagree with your argument there. And Glenn, I think I understand what you're saying, but I think there's a whole lot more backstory that you may not be well informed on. So I'm just going to leave it there.
Okay. What is the actual motion that we're voting on?
Removing Cindy Mary from the TCED board.
So a yes vote is to remove her, and a no vote is not to remove her.
Correct.
Okay. So let's vote. Madam Clerk, if you would, take a roll call vote.
Sure. Lucas,
Absolutely not.
Howden,
Yes.
Cooper,
Yes.
Denham,
No.
LeBlanc,
Yes.
Schultz.
No.
Okay, so then we have a tie. So Mayor, you get to break the tie.
So my vote is yes.
Okay, so the motion passes.
That's Michael's phone.
Okay, Your Honor, this is the,
Before
yes.
we move on, we're going to take a short break.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Call this meeting back to order.
Okay. Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6558, an ordinance amending Chapter 42, Fire Prevention and Protection, Section 5610 of the Branson Municipal Code pertaining to discharging fireworks within the city limits.
You've heard the first reading of Bill 6558. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Staff report from Ted.
Mayor, members of the board, the fire department desires to bring to you tonight a possible amendment to the International Fire Code to expand the dates for the community discharge consumer fireworks. This ordinance within the amended fire code currently allows consumer fireworks to be discharged on July 3 and 4 between the hours of 7 a.m. and midnight. This proposed amendment would expand the dates to July 2nd through the 6th, or a 5-day time period. The date expansion is intended to support the allowable sales of consumer fireworks in the state of Missouri, which is June 20 through July 10. So they'll be opening here in just a couple of days in our city. So as we focus on celebrating safely with our safety messaging and the things that we do and the types of fireworks you can purchase, we just wanted to bring you before you tonight the opportunity to look at where we are with July 3 and 4, or would you like to consider changing those dates or those times? So on the screen, there are some other jurisdictions of similar size and their dates that are allowable. Some are just July 4, some are either side, some are very long, and then there are also jurisdictions that just say flat no. So I wanted to bring that before you tonight to consider. We've not done that for many years. I think it's reasonable or responsible to take a look at that as we look at opportunities in our community. I would share with you that this is first reading intentionally, because I did not want to do a double read next week, so that if you see something you want to discuss or talk through, we've got opportunities to make corrections so you don't have to adjust on the fly.
Thank you, Ted. Questions, comments from the board? Yes.
Hey, I just want to express to the people in the audience, the grand irony of this night is I got way more calls about this one than the previous item, which I didn't expect. I'm voting no on this, and I just wanted to share that with the citizens. It's been a long, emotional night, and I've heard you, and I don't begrudge anybody from getting up and speaking and everything, but I've heard you. I think a lot of my colleagues have heard you, and I'm voting no.
Any other aldermen? Clay?
Yeah, when I first saw this, I'm like, yeah, I think 2 days are good for me. And a lot of my constituents have expressed through phone call, emails, please don't do this. It's a lot for the neighborhood and the dogs, and yeah, I'd be a no vote too.
Artie?
I would agree with both Clay and Marshall. I got tons of text and phone calls from constituents saying, please do not extend this, so I'll be voting no too.
Anybody else?
Mr. Mayor, and I think it's important what Chief Martin said was, to bring it up and just kind of revisit it is just proper procedure.
Sure.
This is not a big hard push or anything like that. It's just making us aware that, hey, there are these variables that are, do you guys want to reconsider this? And I would say of all things, since I've been on this board, this is the one thing that I've gotten the most text and calls on. So you can just about thank the constituents in Ward 3 and other wards, because I've gotten them from all over the city, are pretty, I think they're pretty happy and content with how it is currently stated. So I'd probably be a no vote on this too.
Thank you. Anybody else? Glenn?
Yeah, same thing, same comment. I've gotten a lot of texts, calls, emails, people expressing concern on this. I've also had people point out the typo and grammatical errors in the bill. I'd also like to point out that even if this was for serious consideration on our part, that what the ordinance is addressing is incomplete. So this specifically calls out making changes to section 4255, which is what we see with the struck out July 3rd and 4th and the underlined July 2nd through the 6th. That's the bulk of the question, and then the addition of 5611.4 is also underlined. But unfortunately, if you look at the very next section of code, which is 4256, that section of code is the actual ordinance involving when you can light off fireworks, both times and dates. And so even if we were in favor of this, this couldn't be acted upon tonight in good faith because it's incomplete. It would require yet another vote on another section of code. I've asked for this not to happen. Here we are again. We're just looking at the next section of code, doing a simple search on the code would have avoided this, but yet here we are. The other thing I'd like to point out is that the governor just signed in Senate Bill 81, SB 81, which has, I think it's about, maybe a representative would know, 4, 5, 6 pages dealing with fireworks issues. And I would hope that would have been considered before we touch a bill like this, because there's things in there that we'd probably want to adopt now that they're worked into state law. The other thing that I have a problem with, and a couple of the respondents pointed out, is that even our current ordinance, so this isn't a change, but our current ordinance says 7 a.m. to 12 a.m. midnight only. You know, we have a noise ordinance in this city that says no noise after 11 o'clock, effectively says no noise after 11 o'clock. So it's odd to have one bill that we're looking at that at least tacitly says go ahead and make noise, because I don't know many fireworks that don't make noise. And, you know, yet we've got an ordinance that says don't make noise. So I guess my request is, outside of the issue that all the constituents that contacted me about, which was the same thing that was said, bothering dogs, bothering neighbors, bothering wild animals, all the other things. I had even one person question if it's a disrespect to continue to fire fireworks off during that period of time, that you kind of lose what the event is about. I just, you know, this thing is in such poor shape procedurally that I don't think it should even be in front of us.
Okay, Glenn, I think you got the consensus of where the board's mindset is, of how we're going to vote on this, so I don't know that those other items.
Yes, they're perfectly fine for me to say, and I will say them because that is the condition of the bill. And, you know, I don't think you should be telling an alderman what they can and can't say.
I didn't say that. I just wanted to raise your awareness.
I am aware of that.
That you're going through a lot of items, and it sounds
I'm
like this
completely
board is
aware
going
of
to
that.
vote no anyway.
And an alderman shouldn't be interrupted. Are you aware of that? Are you? So my point is, we add these items to a special agenda, we spend time on it, the citizens spend time on it. I think outside of the issue that there's no favor for the change of the ordinance, when ordinances come to us, they should be in good shape, and this one is far from it. Thank you. Now I'm done, Mr. Mayor.
Ruth?
First of all, Ted, thank you very much for bringing this and putting it on the agenda tonight. I know it's a consideration for all the citizens to be able to respond to. Just a little point here, from 7 a.m. to midnight's stated because it is different than what our normal code requires. So that's why this to midnight is in there. So it's not something, it's for a special holiday and that's it. But thank you very much. But I have been approached by the citizens too, and by my dog and other people's dogs, but it's really tough on them. So thank you very much, Ted, for bringing this and giving us the opportunity to make a decision on voting on this.
Ruth, did your dog say he's voting no?
My dog has a very difficult time. My sister's dog died of a heart attack from the, it's hard because some dogs have such acute hearing, and it's like, what, a couple hundred times what we hear. So it's really tough on the poor doggies.
Okay. Does anybody in the audience want to share anything? Sure. It's okay, that's why she came down and spent the time with us.
Well, first off, I'm excited now.
Your name,
Oh,
please.
Chris Bohins, I'm sorry. I'm excited that you guys have listened to your constituents. I appreciate that you do that. And thank you for allowing us to speak, even knowing how you're going to vote. And like Ruth said, yeah, my dogs, I have one that just trembles even with thunder. I've already bought medicine for the 2 days, and it was over $100 for 2 days. And that's expensive, and if people have to buy it for 5, I mean, most people can't, but, and your animal control officer, I know she wouldn't speak since she works for the city, but she has posted things around 4th of July every single year on the detriment to the animals and the animals at large and the calls she gets. And then another person that had been in here tonight said, Chris, have you ever thought about, you know, a huge horse? And she has horses, and she said her neighbor started doing fireworks even though she's in the country, and her horses literally went through the barn. They were so scared during the fireworks. So, I mean, animals do get really scared, but I don't need to keep talking. I had other things to say, but why? I appreciate you guys listening to the citizens, and thanks for letting me talk after I waited.
Thank you, Chris. There really was a public outcry. Any board member have any other? Oh, I'm so sorry. Come on up. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm going to talk also. I'm Ronnie Haston. And yes, I had research prepared about how it affects the animals and the dogs and the horses and the wild animals, and you all are obviously knowledgeable about that. But I also had a number of articles prepared about people with autism, people with ADHD, the veterans who we admire and love here, and the PTSD and the triggers that fireworks bring back, the combat experiences. It can lead them to depression and drinking, and research about all the triggers of fireworks for people with audio sensitivities, ADHD, autism, and PTSD. So if people don't care about animals, and we know a lot of people don't necessarily care about animals, and you need to understand how to explain a decision or a vote, just please know that people, the research is someone with autism actually hears the fireworks that are miles away exploding in their ears. Because as you might know, someone who has that kind of being on the spectrum, their sensory hyperactivity is immense. So just let's not put any more pressure on parents who are dealing with kiddos more than the 2 days they have to go through it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ronnie.
Mayor.
Hold on. Is there anybody else in the audience wishing to speak?
Okay, Alex Williams again. So I don't want it to be lost on anybody that, I don't know about all of you or anybody listening online. I'm just glad that we're not going the other direction and we're going to land up on that list first. Second, July 4th means a lot of things to a lot of people. As a combat veteran myself, we all did that. Some people came back in a box, and state representative, a lot of people, the mayor, we've all served, Dr. Lucas. Like, it's important. So thank you for respecting the residents and not overextending that stay, but not forgetting the sacrifice. Because sometimes we liken it to just wanting to blow off a firework, but there's a lot of symbolism there for us that we're proud as Americans. It's, in fact, the day that we said we're not going to have any kings, and I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Anybody else in the audience? Hearing none, any other comments from the board before we vote?
Mayor, that's exactly what I was going to say. I'm glad, I'm very thankful for the 2 days we have, and I'd sure not want to be one of those cities that can't celebrate. So thank you, Ted. And you know, we have a big fireworks dude on my parking lot. Ted's there at 11:59 every 4th waiting for me to pop one after midnight.
Get him, Ted.
It's happened for many years.
Get him,
So,
Ted.
I do appreciate the 2 days.
Okay, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
The
hold
motion
it.
is to approve the bill.
The motion is to approve the bill, so let's try
Oh.
this again.
Yikes.
All those in favor,
Wait a minute.
all those in favor of approving the bill, say aye.
Wait a minute. What do we say? What's the?
Just don't say anything if you don't want the bill approved.
But now you can.
Yes, all
opposed,
opposed.
say
Nay.
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 Okay, so the motion failed and the bill is not approved.
Okay. Tell me that's it.
Did we just pass it or not? I don't know.
No.
No.
I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.